I've been speaking to our South Africa correspondent, Betty Divya. She's been filling us in concerning the Oscar Pistorius sentencing hearing. Now, in other news, it's unfortunate, but a second health worker in the United States, that's in Texas specifically, is tested positive for Ebola. Both health workers treated the Liberian man Thomas Duncan, who died last week after becoming the first person diagnosed with Ebola in the United States. Meanwhile, the UN's Ebola mission chief says the world is falling behind in the race to contain the virus. The World Health Organization estimates that well over 4,000 people have been killed by the virus, specifically in Guinea, Liberia, as well as Sierra Leone. Now, the U.S. Center for Disease Control have also discovered that the second health worker diagnosed with Ebola virus had been on a flight from Cleveland to Texas, and that was a day before she was diagnosed with the disease. The unnamed woman was diagnosed on Tuesday, after which she was quickly moved to an isolation ward at the Texas Presbyterian Hospital.
Take some very limited questions. A second healthcare worker at Texas Health Presbyterian Hospital has preliminarily tested positive for Ebola. These tests will be double confirmed by the CDC in the next few minutes. Like Nina Pham, this is a heroic person. I'm sorry, I said like Nina Pham, this is a heroic person. A person who dedicated her life and is dedicating her life to helping others and is a servant leader.
A lot is being said about what may or may not have occurred to cause some of our colleagues to contract this disease. But it's clear there was an exposure somewhere, sometime in their treatment of Mr. Duncan. Let's be clear, we're a hospital that serves this community incredibly well. And we have for nearly a half a century. We're a hospital that may have done some things different with the benefit of what we know today, but makes no mistake, no one wants to get this right more than our hospital, the first to diagnose and treat this insidious disease that's now attacked two of our own.
At the hospital, we have a situation involving 77 people. 2 of which have tested positive for Ebola. We are preparing contingencies for more, and that is a very real possibility.
Now, for more on the situation that's concerning the Ebola virus disease in the United States, I'm now being joined live from Washington, D.C. via Skype by Lenore Mudu. Lenore, thank you so much for joining us on The World Today.
Thank you, Cynthia.
Now that another Texas worker has been diagnosed with the virus, is there growing anxiety on the part of the public, even though authorities are saying that there is no growing fear of the disease? Can you verify that?
Well, Cynthia, according to a poll conducted by the Washington Post and ABC News here in the United States, 65% of Americans are somewhat or very concerned about the possibility of Ebola spreading in the United States. This goes to show that a lot of people are indeed worried about Ebola. There is a perception problem. Some people think that the truth is not really being told as to how this is being handled or how Ebola is being spread, the way that people can get infected. So there is definitely a concern among the population.
Now, any word on how the health workers who've tested positive are being treated? And by that I mean the kind of treatments they might be getting in the isolation centers or hospitals, or where have they been placed, by the way?
They're getting the proper care according to health authorities at the Texas Health Presbyterian Hospital. They're in isolation. Nurse Nina, who was the first one infected, along with the second nurse, who just got who was just reported to be infected. And Nurse Nina, who was the first one, has received blood transfusion from one of the people who survived Ebola, one of the American, Kent Brentley, who survived Ebola. She received a blood transfusion from him to boost her immunity, according to medical experts. That's what the blood transfusion of a recovered Ebola patient can do, is to boost immunity for a new patient. So as far as the second nurse, there's no word yet as to if she will receive the blood transfusion. But one thing is clear, according to report, they are getting the best care.
Now, finally, Lenore, before I let you go, you did mention that there is some concern on the part of the public. So are there any new measures being put in place to curb the possible spread of the virus?
The CDC, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention of the United States, is establishing an Ebola response team to intervene within hours, according to what the spokesperson said, to intervene very quickly whenever there is a report of a suspected case of Ebola, so that they ensure that there is no possibility of spreading among healthcare workers as well as patients. And also, authorities say that a hospital will change or adjust procedures in the health centers to ensure that proper protocols are followed with regards to attacking and addressing Ebola.
Thank you so much for speaking with us on The World Today. We appreciate your time.
Thank you, Cynthia.
Well, I've been speaking with Lenore Mudu. She's from the Voice of America, and she's been telling us more about what's happening in the United States concerning the Ebola virus disease.